Hello and welcome to Cheshire Audio. Now this is the ND3 review that I was promising. Obviously we had a bit of a walk around it when it came in, sort of talked about sort of physical features and that sort of thing. I've now actually had a chance to give it a good listen. I'd had it running on a deck to not listening to it, just getting a few hours in really, just to bed it in a little bit. Had a bit of a session with it yesterday. And I've been sporadically today. I guess it's been busy then, not busy, and whatever. So if at any chance I've had, I've come up and just listened to a track or whatever. It's been very interesting actually. Before I talk about that, and this isn't just some ploy to get you to watch to the end. At the end of the video, I've got a couple of trade-ins which I'll just walk around a little, very very briefly walk around, just show you what I've had in, because I like to give a bit of a sort of a head start to people who watch the videos. On anything interesting that comes in, because I've got two interesting trade-ins, so I'll show you those. They will go onto the second-hand page in a couple of weeks, or possibly a bit sooner than that, but I just thought I'd give you a bit of a heads up on it. Back to the ND3. If you think about it, the ND3 replaces the Elise, and the Elise was sort of comparable cost-wise to things like the Audio-Technica 95ml, the microline one, the Rega MP110, Autophone 2M Blue. What else was out? There's quite a few other options out there. There's some Ecos, there's various other things as well, but they were the main ones. And now on a Rega, and I'll specify on a Rega because I think the Autophones. So they keep saying this, and it's probably getting boring, but I never thought that the 2M Autophone totally suited the Rega arm for some reason. What it does give you, the Autophone, is clarity and definition. You know, you can hear a pin drop at the back of the orchestra, that sort of thing. It's all there. Can sound a bit sterile. Well, does sound a bit sterile, in my view, really. The Audio-Technica gives you a little bit more life. Isn't quite as detailed, but gives you a bit more life. And the Rega is nice and warm and open and natural sounding. Again, not loads of detail, but yeah. The Rega Elise, its main factor, you know, sound-wise, is it's very interesting to listen to. It's difficult to put that into words. What you tend to find is you put an album on, you listen all the way through. If you sit and judge it, it's not as clear and defined as the Autophone. It's not quite as warm and cosy as the Rega. It's not, you know, quite like the Audio-Technica, but it keeps you. It's got this musicality. It's got like it makes you listen to the music. It makes you want to listen to the music, and you enjoy the music, and you don't start judging all these other things anyway. So it's not really an issue. Some people got that, some people didn't. Some people thought it was rough and aggressive, and you know, it was. Oh, I've heard of Rega; it's awful. Yeah, I can sort of understand. I think it depends how you listen to your music. Some people never quite key into the musicality thing. Some people are very into detail and that sort of thing. So understandable. If you wanted to have that sort of more definition and more refinement, then you moved up to the Exact. That was where it all started to happen in that respect, really. But the Elise was always a bit of a bit of a cult following in a way, really. But people who either got it or didn't get it. I think that's the thing. It's like a lot of things, isn't it, really? Now the ND3 is interesting because I think it retains that musicality, which I was really hoping it would. But it gives you a bit more of the Audio-Technica and the Autophone sort of definition. It's certainly, I kind of predicted this, it's much better at sort of 3D imagery and that sort of thing, but hasn't lost that dynamic somehow, which tends to be, if you go too open and too ethereal, then sometimes the dynamics suffer for it. It seems to cover both areas, really. It's not quite as warm still as say, a Rega. The Rega, I would always say, was one of my favourite cartridges, really, in a Rega. I think it really suits it. I'm starting to think that the ND3 is its match, really. So that's quite interesting as well, because I've used Regas over the years on Regas, and they've just got something about them. Yeah, okay, they're not the last word of definition, but they just have this lovely, warm, big sound that just seems to suit any sort of music. So yeah, I feel as though the ND3 is giving you that. It's got this sort of, not quite as warm as an Rega, but it's got this lovely natural feel to it. Fitting wise, let's just turn around the camera. Fitting wise, a bit of a dream. I mean, again, predicted this. You've got 3 threaded nuts on the top, so you just position the cartridge where you want it tightened down. It can't really go anywhere but where you put it, to be honest. There's a bit of
side to side on the back 2 bolts, so you have to just make sure it's straight, but you can align to the actual body. The actual front of the cartridge does align with the shape of the head shell, which is quite nice. One thing you'll have to watch out for if you're going for, say you've got a bias or an Elise or an exact and you want to go to an ND3, you will have to adjust the lifter, because I don't know if I can show you this without destroying anything, but if that's down position for play, up position for moving across. If you move across, I'll do this very carefully. Right, that is virtually touching the record. I don't know if you can see that, there's literally about 0.5 millimetre clearance between record and stylus, so you'll need to, there is a little adjuster there, it's a 1.3 mil Allen, little grub screw on there. So you loosen off, lift the lifter up a little bit, and it'll be fine. What you won't need is a space. I mean, that's internet hysteria. That is really. It is a much deeper cartridge. That's the reason. This is more of the height of a Nagoka, and the Nagokas have always been bang on a Rega arm. Really, if anything, well, not if anything, they are. Rega's bias, Elise, and exact are too short. Really, I mean, Rega don't sort of consider VTA to be that an issue in any respect, really, within reason. But they are much shorter than other cartridges, so we're going to this design. We're more like a Nagoka, which is bob on. So you can stop arguing about it. What else we need to know? Yeah, it's like I say, yeah, easy fit. Initially, I thought it sounded a bit soft, but it seemed to just open up and bed in quite quickly. So running in times, I think this has probably had 3-4 hours on it. Really, it seems to have opened up quite a bit. Actually, I'm going to keep listening to it and just see how it goes. But I think we've sort of, it seems to have stabilised into sort of a balance now. So yeah, that's it. That's ND3. What I actually listened, just to go through what I listened to, a few albums actually, but just going to go through what my findings on different albums really. They're not all there, are they? Some of them are there. Played it through Little Rothwell, IM 300, just because I'm still running that in really. And bizarrely, slightly, I wouldn't say it's a mismatch, but it did sound quite good. Just a pair of Dali Oberon 5s on the Audite stands. Lovely big sound, actually. I mean, in some ways, the deck was out of its league because we're into a much bigger amp. You would normally have a P8 on here or whatever with that, but it was, in some ways, it's quite good because it really tears things apart. If you put a really good amp after a turntable, it tends to show what's going on really. Yeah, I was listening to main one I listened to along with Richard Thompson, Across Crowded Room. There's 2 tracks on this I always tend to play. It's the first one is When a Spell is Broken, which I saw him play live a lot around this sort of era when this album came out, and what's the other one? Hands of Kindness. That album. This is Cross Crowded Room. Hands of Kindness was this sort of era, and it was a time when Clive Gregson, Christine Collister were doing backing, and the band were extremely tight. It was a really, really exciting band to listen to live. And that first track, I don't know whether he's just recorded it with crosspair or whatever, of microphones, but it's very, very in the room. I mean, it's not a great press in this album. It's not any sort of hi-fi wonder or anything like that, but there's just something about the way the music's portrayed on it. And if a system is doing musicality, that absolutely comes alive. The track after it, called You Don't Say, I tend to leave it running into that because that is massively dynamic. It really starts and stops really fast, and it's quite difficult for system to keep up with it sometimes. So those 2, mainly. I did listen to a couple of other tracks on there, but basically because I'd just put it on and I was enjoying it, so I just left it running. What am I doing? Get your finger under that. That's it. Basically that album's on the player at the moment, hence all its innards everywhere. Oh yeah, this one, which is a bit of a slightly quirky album, but I quite often end up coming back to this. New Riders of the Purple Sage, and I generally put on the track called, where are we? Last on the First Side, Dirty Business. There's a great vocal on it, and it's very, very atmospheric, and there's this graunchy sort of guitar sound going on that, which is amazing. On a good setup, it really shines, that track, and it really... Quite surprised with the ND3, because you'll find when you get into the sort of moving coils and sort of some of the higher end stuff, that this seems to step up a level. And it just felt as though it was kind of having a go at it, really. It was really giving it some good atmospherics. The old favourite, always end up on this one, I should probably try not to. Jennifer Warnes doing Leonard Cohen, and title track, Famous Blue Raincoat. That's just one of those things, really. There's sort of... I'm not into saxophone, I must admit. One of my least favourite tracks is Baker Street. Sorry to say, I shouldn't have said that out loud. But there's solo saxophone on that, and there's a double bass, and the vocals very precise and everything, and again very atmospheric. So if a cartridge is going to do its thing, sort of, like 3D wise, then it comes across really well on that. I also listened to a bit of Fleetwood Mac. I've got Fleetwood Mac, Land Slide. I always listen to that. Also listened to a bit of Andy DeFranco, which is an album I've not played very much. I just put something on I didn't know and just let that run. That worked really well. Very precise, actually. So what I found was that I wasn't really choosing albums necessarily, apart from these three. I wasn't necessarily choosing albums as I would normally choose for evaluation. I was just thinking, I'll put a bit of this on, a bit of that. So it's actually musically was interesting me. Because I tend to find, a bit like an Autophone on a rig, I tend to find that you'll choose certain albums. Oh, this has got a good bass, or this has got a good whatever, and it's usually a sign that you're not actually listening to the music particularly. So anyway, I think I would recommend ND3. I think they've made a good step forward with it. Be interesting to see what the 5's are like and the 7. I mean, the 3 has got quite a basic diamond profile on it, but you wouldn't know really. I mean, it's up against the Audio-Technica 95ML, which is microline. I would almost say that the ND3's got the better of it, really. Not massively, but it's slightly different, but it's up there with that, and that is quite a high-end tip, really. Certainly at that price. Anyway, what was I going to talk about? This is very random. I sat on the table in the demonstration room, feeling really uncomfortable. Trade-ins I've got, and this is an interesting one. A Planer 8. No cartridge on it. I can't remember how old it is. Not very, I don't think, really. I don't think it's particularly been around for a while, that one. Really nice condition. All the packaging's there. Cartridge-wise, I'm probably going to price that about 1,100. But then if you want it with an Anya, I could probably do it for 1,500. If you want it with an ND3 or something, I could probably do it for 1,200. So that sort of thing. So cartridge. I could put a new cartridge on it for you. But just if you're interested, let me know. Roxanne Black CD player, wonderful player, really good. I've stopped doing Roxanne now, but the Black is a particularly good player. It's probably one of my favourite players, actually, really. I do think the Atolls have kind of got one up on them now, really, but probably the last great Roxanne CD player, really. Can't remember how old that is, but it's just had a service at Roxanne, so it's got a new front end on it, totally new front end, so that's going to be about 1,300, I think, something like that. Anyway, I better get my phone, because that noise in the background is my phone ringing. Yeah, so I hope you like that. Bit rushed, sorry about that. Basically, it's about an hour till I close, and it's the weekend. So I wanted to get this recorded and edited and done before the weekend, really, as promised. I basically pressed play and that was it, really. So I may have waffled. Sorry about that. Really like the ND3. I think this is the conclusion. Really like it. It was actually better than I thought it was going to be, and I knew it was going to be a big step because Rega had been working on it for a long time. And Rega tend not to bring things out unless it is a significant step over the previous model. They don't slightly tweak things to get another review, which seems to be the way of the world nowadays. A lot of these manufacturers, and they'll tweak something, call it an SE, and put it back out for review again, and it'll get another peak of sales. And then when that peak drops, they'll do another little modification. Cynical old me, but no, it's quite a big step, and it seems to address a lot of the issues that people did have with the Elise of
not me personally, but people have said to me, it's a bit aggressive, it's a bit this, it's a bit that. It isn't, the ND3 isn't any of those things, but it hasn't lost that beauty of the musicality that you got from Elise that was really engaging to listen to. It's got more of the character, I think, now of the Exact, which is a £300 cartridge. So, yeah, that's the level I think they've moved it on, really. And it's also made it a little bit more of a broad interest for people who possibly may have gone for a Nagoka, or possibly might have gone for an Autophon or whatever, because it's sort of stepping into what their sort of little tricks are, really. Because every cartridge at that level, cartridges tend to have something they're very good at. When you spend more money, you get a more all-rounded sort of performance from things. But at sort of £100 to £200, generally there's one aspect that they're particularly good at. Not always, but usually. And I think it does seem to cover all bases a bit more than it used to, really. So there won't be just this one, specific thing. I'm waffling again, aren't I? Yeah, if you're interested in the two trade-ins, just give me a bell. I'm not going to put them up on the website just yet, probably after the weekend. So I've taken them out to photograph them. That's about it so far. I'm not that organised. I'm terrible at putting things on the website. That's it. I'll stop there. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to give us a subscribe and a like, and I will see you in a future video. Next coming will be the IN300 review, although as I say that, I'm starting to think it may not be, because something's just come through the door which might have to jump it. Yeah, more of that later. See you soon.